Welcome to Her Stance, the podcast where we shine a light on the incredible achievements of women, often overlooked, but always essential. The world is still buzzing from the recent 2025 Nobel Prize announcements. It's a spectacular honor, one of the most prestigious on the planet. And as you know, you can't buy these awards. You can't launch a project or take a position just with the intention of garnering one. A Nobel is a recognition, a sudden spotlight on a life's work. It all goes back to the will of Alfred Nobel, a Swedish chemist, inventor of dynamite, and a businessman who built a fortune developing cannons and other armaments. A man who essentially built his wealth on destruction, yet paradoxically bequeathed it to a foundation to honor those who have, quote, conferred the greatest benefit to mankind, unquote. And in that paradox lies the history we're exploring today. A quick detour first. Her stance is only possible because of small ongoing recognition from listeners. Can't thank you enough for a thumbs up, a star, or a quick buck on the support page on Buzzsprout website. You can also follow Her Stance on Instagram and Facebook at Her Stance with Sandra. You'll find journal prompts, thought-provoking questions, and links to sign up for the monthly newsletter right there on my social media pages. I'm about to launch a new website as well. I'm super excited. There you'll find new digital products and a new form to sign up for my newsletter. We're growing, and I hope you will come along for the ride. Also, check out the show notes after our program today for the links to the books that will be referenced here and some links to merch that helps promote the podcast. Okay, let's get back to our outstanding episode. Since the Nobel Prizes began in 1901, the vast majority of Nobel laureates, nearly 90%, have been men. But that's not the whole story. As of 2025, a dedicated, brilliant, and persistent group of 67 women have broken through and been awarded a Nobel Prize, or the Memorial Prize in Economic Sciences, on 68 separate occasions. That one woman to win twice? The icon Marie Curie. In a world that historically excluded women from high science, politics, and literature, these women didn't just break the glass ceiling, they redefined the foundations of their fields. Today we focus our lens on the American women who have fundamentally shaped our world and our understanding of it. William, like Gertrude B. Elion, whose revolutionary approach to drug development led to life-saving treatments for leukemia and AIDS. Or Toni Morrison, whose novels gave vital, visionary life to the essential complexities of the American experience. These are the scientists, writers, and peace advocates who persisted when their work was ignored, who made profound discoveries for the sheer fun of doing physics, and who battled tyranny and disease to deliver monumental benefits to humanity. In the realm of these monumental achievements, the numbers themselves tell a fascinating story. A story of where women have historically been allowed to shine and where they are just beginning to break ground. Look at the distribution of the Nobel Prizes awarded to women. The highest numbers are in the fields of peace and literature, accounting for over half of all female laureates. This speaks to the powerful, essential work women have always done in advocacy, diplomacy, and giving voice to the human experience. But the numbers drop dramatically in the sciences. Only 14 women in medicine, 8 in chemistry, and a stark 5 in physics. And in the field of economics, a mere 3 women have ever been honored. The gaps are glaring, but they are finally, slowly closing. This year, 2025, we celebrate 2 new female laureates, both of whom embody the core spirit of the Nobel mission. In physiology or medicine, we have Mary E. Brunkow, an American-born scientist who, at the Institute of Systems Biology in Seattle, shared the prize for her discoveries concerning peripheral immune tolerance. Born right here in Portland, Oregon, Dr. Brunkow's work, using models like mice in her studies, is vital to our understanding of autoimmune diseases and is already translating into significant advances, like new therapies for conditions such as osteoporosis. It's a powerful, necessary reminder that foundational scientific advances, even those often dismissed as absurd or esoteric by short-sighted politicians, are directly responsible for the life-saving medical breakthroughs that benefit us all. This is the bedrock of scientific progress in this country. And in the arena of global courage, the Nobel Peace Prize was awarded to Maria Corina Machado, a Venezuelan politician, activist, and industrial engineer. Maria Corina Machado was recognized for her tireless work promoting democratic rights for the people of Venezuela and her struggle for a just and peaceful transition from dictatorship to democracy. Despite facing intense repression from the Maduro regime, her conviction has made her an icon of freedom. Her courage in the face of tyranny is a beacon. And frankly, that is a kind of courage, that willingness to fight for democratic rights and peace, that we need to see displayed right here in this country right now. Now let's step back to the very beginning, to the woman who first broke the mold and remains the ultimate gold standard, Marie Sklodowska-Curie. Marie Curie was a woman of firsts, a Polish-born French physicist famous for her pioneering work on radioactivity. In 1903, she became the first woman ever to win a Nobel Prize, sharing the award in physics with her husband and another colleague. But she didn't stop there. Just 8 years later, in 1911, she became the first person, and to this day the only woman, to win a Nobel Prize in 2 different scientific fields, earning the Chemistry Prize for her discovery of radium and polonium. She was the first woman to teach at the Sorbonne. She not only created a universal center for nuclear physics and chemistry with her Radium Institute, but during World War I, she developed mobile X-ray units known as Petites Curies and drove them to the front lines, literally saving countless lives. Her work, however, took a tragic toll. She died from aplastic anemia caused by the very radiation she devoted her life to studying. Yet her influence is immeasurable, demonstrated not just by her 2 Nobel Prizes, but by the fact that in 1995, her ashes were enshrined in the Pantheon in Paris, making her the first woman to receive that honor for her own achievements. And the legacy continued. Her daughter, Irene Joliot-Curie, followed in her footsteps, winning the Nobel Prize in Chemistry in 1935, making them the only mother-daughter pair of Nobel laureates, a true dynasty of brilliance. As we move forward, we'll look at the incredible American women who inherited this legacy and who have delivered the greatest benefit to mankind. Andrea M. Ghez is an American Nobel laureate in physics, and her achievement is a direct echo of the trailblazing started by Marie Curie. The two bookend over a century of incredible work by women in a field where they remain vastly underrepresented. Marie Curie, a pioneer in the early 20th century, pushed the limits of our understanding of the smallest parts of matter, radioactivity, and the atom. Her work in physics and chemistry opened the door to the nuclear age. Fast forward to 2020, and we see Andrea M. Ghez, an American astrophysicist, pushing the limits of our understanding of the largest, most extreme object in the cosmos, the black hole at the center of our galaxy. Gez's monumental discovery that a supermassive compact object with the mass of 4 million suns is governing the motions of stars at the Milky Way's center isn't just a map point for our galaxy. It is fundamental confirmation of the nature of gravity, space, and time at their absolute limits. Her decades of work, requiring groundbreaking advancements in adaptive optics, show that perseverance and technological innovation are key to solving the universe's biggest mysteries. She is only the fourth woman in history to win the Nobel Prize in Physics, following Curie, Maria Gephardt-Mayer, and Donna Strickland. Now, let's turn to the Nobel Prize in Chemistry, a field where the legacy of Marie Curie continues to inspire transformative work. Remarkably, 3 American women have been awarded the Nobel Prize in Chemistry in the 21st century alone, fundamentally reshaping our world in the lab and beyond. Frances Arnold was awarded the prize in 2018 for her work in the directed evolution of enzymes. Arnold pioneered a method that uses the principles of evolution, mutation, and selection to engineer new and better proteins in the laboratory. This allows scientists to rapidly create enzymes with novel properties for greener industrial processes, like manufacturing pharmaceuticals, producing biofuels, and creating more efficient detergents, moving chemical synthesis away from harsh, toxic catalysts. Jennifer Doudna won the prize in 2020. She shared the prize with Emmanuel Charpentier for the development of a method for genome editing known as CRISPR-Cas9. This revolutionary tool acts as molecular genetic scissors, allowing scientists to cut and edit DNA with unprecedented precision. It has completely transformed life science research and holds the potential to cure inherited diseases like sickle cell anemia, develop new cancer therapies, and engineer climate-resilient crops. And Carolyn Bertozzi, 2022. She shared the prize with Morton Meldal and Barry Sharpless for her foundational contributions to a field she pioneered, bioorthogonal chemistry. Bioorthogonal chemistry can be used to deliver a drug, such as a chemotherapy agent, to a specific location, like a tumor, that has been pre-tagged, effectively activating the drug only where it's needed. This allows for much more precise targeting, reducing toxic side effects on healthy tissue. These three women represent a new era of chemical innovation, moving the field past simple synthesis to actually harnessing, accelerating, and manipulating life's own molecular machinery for the benefit of human health and a sustainable planet. Well, let's move on to the Nobel laureates in literature. This is an opportunity for me to recommend a few really amazing books for you to pick up for a winter read. 3 American women have been recognized by the Swedish Academy for their profound contributions to world literature, spanning over 80 years of history. The first American woman, and first American overall, to win the Nobel Prize in Literature was Pearl Buck in 1938. The Academy praised her for her rich and truly epic descriptions of peasant life in China and her compelling memoir biographies of her missionary parents. Born in West Virginia in 1892, Buck was taken to China at just 4 months old and spent most of her early life there as the daughter of missionaries. She was effectively bilingual, speaking Chinese before English. Her epic novel, The Good Earth, published in 1931, became an international phenomenon, providing an intimate, humanizing look at the lives and struggles of Chinese farmers. After returning to the U.S. in the 1930s, Buck became a prominent advocate for women's rights and racial equality, and was one of the earliest and most passionate advocates for Asian and mixed race adoption. More than 50 years later, Toni Morrison was honored in 1993, lauded for novels characterized by visionary force and poetic import, which give life to an essential aspect of American reality. Her debut, The Bluest Eye, in 1970, set the stage for a career of confronting essential truths about race, identity, and America. Her novel, Song of Solomon, in 1977, brought her national acclaim, and Beloved, in 1987, won the Pulitzer Prize and stands as a modern American masterpiece, examining the devastating legacy of slavery. The enduring power of Morrison's writing is perhaps best proven by the fact that her work continues to challenge and provoke. In the early 2020s, her novels, including The Bluest Eye and Beloved, were among those targeted for removal or quarantined from public school library shelves in several states. This action, often framed in the context of the critical race theory debate, sought to suppress challenging perspectives on American history and racism. One committee that voted to retain her book noted, "This novel helps the reader step into and understand 1941 Black culture in a way no textbook can do." My advice, listeners, read the books. Let these masterpieces challenge and inform you. As a note, President Barack Obama presented her with the Presidential Medal of Freedom on May 29, 2012, and she was inducted into the National Women's Hall of Fame in 2020. Most recently, the American poet and essayist Louise Elizabeth Gluck won the Nobel Prize in Literature in 2020. The judges praised her unmistakable poetic voice that with austere beauty makes individual existence universal. Her career was marked by numerous high honors, including the Pulitzer Prize, the National Book Award, and the National Humanities Medal. She also served as the Poet Laureate of the United States from 2003 to 2004. Gluck passed away in 2023, but her powerful, intimate, and often mythic poetry continues to resonate, confirming her status as one of America's most essential literary voices. In the field of peace, American women have been tireless architects of global cooperation, often focusing their efforts on issues society initially relegated to the domestic sphere, from community health to global disarmament. We look at three pivotal winners. Jane Addams was the first American woman to win the Nobel Peace Prize in 1931, sharing the award with Nicholas Murray Butler for their efforts to revive the ideal of peace in their own nation and in the whole of mankind. Addams is recognized as the founder of the social work profession in the United States. She co-founded Hull House in Chicago, one of the nation's most famous settlement houses. Her vision linked the traditionally female concerns of the home, like the health of children and community sanitation, to the workings of government. She argued that these issues, the extensions of the domestic work assigned to women, were essential functions of public life. Despite facing intense public criticism during World War I, Addams remained an unwavering pacifist. Her lifelong commitment to human rights also led her to co-found the American Civil Liberties Union, ACLU, in 1920. The torch was passed to Emily Green Balch, who won the Nobel Peace Prize in 1946. An economist, sociologist, and dedicated pacifist, she shared the award with John Mott. Balch moved into the peace movement at the outbreak of World War I, collaborating with Jane Addams. She became a central leader of the Women's International League for Peace and Freedom, WILPF, an organization founded to oppose war and promote permanent peace. Demonstrating her commitment, Balch donated her entire share of the prize money to the WILPF, underscoring her belief that the cause, not the individual, deserved the recognition. Her acceptance speech focused on overcoming nationalism to achieve lasting international peace. Our third American winner is Jody Williams, awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 1997 for her critical work in banning anti-personnel landmines. Williams served as the founding coordinator for the International Campaign to Ban Landmines, ICBL, transforming it from a tiny grassroots operation into a global powerhouse of 1,300 non-governmental organizations across 90 countries. Through her relentless strategic work, Williams and the ICBL achieved their goal in 1997 with the adoption of the Ottawa Treaty, an international agreement that bans the use, stockpiling, production, and transfer of anti-personnel mines. Williams and the ICBL were awarded the Nobel Prize just 3 weeks after the treaty was signed, making a rare and rapid recognition of a successful global disarmament effort achieved through an unprecedented partnership between governments and civil society. Finally, let's discuss the Nobel Memorial Prize in Economic Sciences, a prize that has been awarded to a woman only 3 times. On 2 of those occasions, the winner was an American woman whose work fundamentally redefined how we understand human behavior, resource management, and labor markets. Eleanor Lynn Ostrom was awarded the prize in 2009 for her analysis of economic governance, especially the commons, sharing the award with Oliver Williamson. She holds the distinction of being the first woman ever to win the Nobel Prize in Economic Sciences. Ostrom's work directly contradicted the traditional, widely held economic theory known as the tragedy of the commons. She proved that communities can rationally manage common pool resources like fisheries, forests, or groundwater basins without needing heavy government intervention or complete privatization. Her research, which began with her fascinating study of competing local water rights in Southern California, demonstrated that groups of people often develop their own complex, sustainable rules for resource use. Her path was defined by overcoming obstacles. Her high school discouraged her from taking higher math, and after college, she was rejected from an economics PhD program due to her lack of advanced mathematics. She excelled in political science instead, showing that interdisciplinary thinking was key to unlocking the economic solutions that won her the Nobel Prize. Most recently, Claudia Goldin won the Nobel Memorial Prize in Economic Sciences in 2023. Not only is she the third woman to win the prize, but she is the first woman to win it solo, unshared. Goldin was honored for having advanced our understanding of women's labor market outcomes. She's an economic historian who spent her career compiling and analyzing 200 years of data on women and the American economy. Her research transformed the understanding of why women's wages and careers have historically been lower than men's. She famously charted the U-shaped curve of female labor force participation, showing that women's employment initially fell as the economy industrialized when they left agricultural work, but then rose again as the service sector and higher education expanded. Goldin's most influential work uncovered that the primary driver of the gender pay gap today is not education or even discrimination alone, but rather the, quote, greedy job, unquote, phenomenon. The need for careers to demand long, inflexible hours, which penalizes women who disproportionately take on caregiving responsibilities. Finally, let's briefly celebrate a few international women who have transformed their fields and the world. Their stories are ones of perseverance, profound grief, and moral courage. Katalin Karikó, the Hungarian-American biochemist, shared the 2023 Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine with Drew Weissman. Karikó's work is critical because she solved the two biggest problems that had stalled the development of messenger RNA therapeutics for decades. When synthetic mRNA was introduced into the body, it triggered a massive, unwanted inflammatory response, effectively stopping the process. Karikó and Weissman discovered that chemically modifying one of the nucleoside bases, specifically substituting uridine with pseudouridine, made the mRNA invisible to the immune system. This modification didn't just suppress the immune reaction, it also dramatically increased the amount of target protein the cell produced. This simple, elegant chemical change made mRNA safe, effective, and clinically viable. Without this foundational discovery, the COVID-19 mRNA vaccines from BioNTech and Moderna would not exist, and the field of mRNA therapeutics for cancer, heart disease, and other viruses would not be revolutionizing medicine today. Hers is a story of decades of tireless work despite having her research dismissed and facing institutional skepticism. The German-Swedish poet and playwright Nelly Sachs was awarded the 1966 Nobel Prize in Literature for her outstanding lyrical and dramatic writing, which interprets Israel's destiny with touching strength. Sachs' life and work were fundamentally shaped by her narrow escape from the Nazis. Fleeing with her elderly mother to Sweden in 1940, just 1 week before she was scheduled to report to a concentration camp, she channeled her terror, grief, and survival into powerful verse. Her poetry is an eloquent, mystical, and profoundly moving monument to the suffering of her fellow Jews during the Holocaust. Works like Eli, a mystery play of Israel's suffering, and her poem, Oh, the Chimneys, are wrenching portrayals of the death camps, using stark, modern imagery mixed with the prophetic language of the Old Testament. She viewed her writing as a sole responsibility to remember the dead and universalize the Jewish tragedy into the story of all human suffering. Svetlana Alexievich, a Belarusian investigative journalist and oral historian, won the Nobel Prize in Literature in 2015 for her polyphonic writings, A Monument to Suffering and Courage in Our Time. Alexievich pioneered a unique literary form, the artfully constructed oral history. Rather than writing fiction, she built her books out of meticulously edited collages of hundreds of interviews, giving voice to the ordinary people who survived the biggest traumas of the Soviet era. Her works include oral histories of the Second World War from the women's perspective, the Soviet-Afghan War, the dissolution of the USSR, and the Chernobyl disaster through the eyes of the cleanup workers, wives, and children. She focuses on the emotional history of the individual, creating a collective portrait of a world forever changed by war and disaster. She's a fierce critic of Russian aggression and the authoritarian regime in Belarus, using her platform to condemn the annexation of Crimea and the complicity of the Belarusian government in the 2022 invasion of Ukraine. As we close this episode, let's reflect on what truly binds together the women we've celebrated, from the chemists in the lab to the activists in the streets. Every Nobel laureate we've discussed today earned their prize by conferring the greatest benefit to mankind. They achieved this through principle, not power. They achieved it through sacrifice, not self-interest. Think of Katalin Karikó, toiling for decades against skepticism, laying the groundwork for a discovery that, when applied in new ways, saved millions of lives during a global pandemic. Think of Nelly Sachs and Svetlana Alexievich, whose poems and novels were not full of hatred and vitriol meant to divide. Instead, they dared to stir up compassion, shining a light on what propaganda and history's darkest moments do to civilized societies, a profound warning against letting history repeat itself. Think of Jane Addams and Jody Williams, who never fired a missile or sent a military force to subdue an uprising. They simply chose to lift up the voices of those who would otherwise be silenced, persevering in the pursuit of peace and human rights. Not one of these women has othered a group to gain an advantage for another. Their achievements, whether in science, literature, or economics, represent a commitment to universal values and the complexity of the human experience. Shining a light on the women who have been awarded these prizes is to recognize the diversity necessary to enrich our world. It's a reminder that revolutionary breakthroughs often come from marginalized perspectives, and that the quiet persistence of principle always outweighs the loudest demands of tyranny. These Nobel Prizes are meant to inspire each of us to do better, to demand more of our leaders, and to uphold the ideals of knowledge, compassion, and courage in our own lives. Well, you've reached the Her Stance Challenge. The stories of Carico, Ostrom, and Williams show that monumental change comes from relentless focus and perseverance, often in the face of skepticism or rejection. Your challenge is to identify one difficult systemic problem in your local community or sphere of influence, like a local environmental issue, an equity gap in your school, or an outdated policy at your workplace. Instead of simply complaining about it, commit to performing one small, focused act of persistent research or organizing per week for the next month. This could be compiling data, drafting a clear and reasoned argument, finding a supportive ally, or attending a crucial meeting. The goal isn't to solve the problem in a month, but to adopt the Laureates principle, believe in your unique vision, and prove its worth through dedicated, continuous effort. Need another challenge? Demand more of your leaders by focusing on the protection of intellectual freedom and compassion-driven policy. Find out which books are currently being challenged or banned in the public libraries and schools in your city, county, or state. Write a concise, principled letter to one of your local elected officials, a city council member, school board member, or state legislator. In your letter, urge them to support policies that protect diverse and challenging literature, like the works of Toni Morrison and Nellie Sachs, as essential tools for teaching critical thinking and empathy. Commit to evidence-based, compassionate governance that refuses to other any group for political gain, a direct echo of the foundational principle of the Nobel Prizes, acting for the greatest benefit to mankind. Don't resort to angry rhetoric. Instead, embody the clear, principled voice that defined these laureates' careers. Thank you for listening to Her Stance. You can email me at contact@elevateherexistence.com. I hope you'll pick up one of the amazing books for a winter read. I'll list those titles in the show notes. Until next time, keep your eye on the prize.